A decorated Green Beret, James Harper, is honorably but involuntarily discharged after a blood test shows multiple drugs in his system, which he explains were heavy meds for a rehab knee injury. The new commanding officer, stricter than his predecessors, denies him future service and strips him of benefits despite James arguing he has done 4 combat tours in 5 years with the same damaged lung. Leaving the base, he still stops to salute the flag with other soldiers, showing his patriotism. At home, he tells his wife Brienne the discharge is due to the meds for his bad knee. Their son overhears as they also discuss mounting debts and a predatory high-interest repayment plan James refuses to take. James mentions there is real money in private contracting, but Brienne reminds him he once swore he would never go that route. That night, he learns his teammate Mason has died. Brienne says she can't face another one of his unit's funerals and asks if James is really okay, noting Mason also told his wife he was fine before he wasn't. James insists he's not like his father, and a flashback shows his dad gifting him an American flag tattoo. At Mason's funeral, James and an old friend trade fond stories to lighten the mood. When he learns Mason's family will get a full payout, he's relieved but still unsettled by the vague explanation of Mason's death. Later, visiting his friend Mike, James admits he is considering private work. Mike encourages him, saying with James's training he deserves and needs a serious paycheck and might as well use his skills. Mike, who now works for a covert private outfit called NatSac, explains that in this world James's blood test issues don't matter as long as he can still perform missions, and offers to introduce him. He brings James to a heavily secured ranch and to his boss, Rusty Jennings. Rusty is already reading James's file when they meet. He delivers a practice speech. After giving everything to the army, soldiers are often discarded, the government doesn't care, and men like James and Mason are left dealing with fear, rage, uncertainty, and a sense of abandonment and betrayal. Rusty says he understands exactly what they're going through, adding that even James's father went through the same thing. James shuts that down. He does not want to talk about his father, but Rusty's words hit close to home, and the lure of good money and continued purpose pulls James toward the private Black Ops world. Rusty explains that for soldiers leaving the military, reputation is all they have left, and that is why he and others built their own firm. He tells James he could join a big-name private contractor and earn serious money, but would end up doing ugly work. Rusty instead offers honorable missions with decent pay, operating under direct presidential authority on national security matters. Their export work is tightly controlled. They only show their fangs when absolutely necessary. He describes a developing threat in Berlin involving bioterrorism and assigns Mike to lead a covert Black Ops mission there, offering James a $50,000 advance and promising to look after his wife and son during the tour. A childhood memory flashes of James and his father posing with their matching flag tattoos. In the present, James hides his bike keys in a parking lot, gears up, and flies to Berlin. There, a local handler briefs him. The target is virologist Dr. Salim Mohsen, whose private lab lies about 40 minutes outside the city. The threat category is top-tier bioterrorism. Given a car and a safe house, James begins surveillance in the rain, watching the professor's movements and noting details like his gate code and animal deliveries for experiments. He overhears Mohsen on a pay phone saying his results are promising, but that there's a mole on his staff and they may be in danger. The next night, James narrowly avoids being spotted by the professor. The following morning, James is ordered to abandon his post and relocate to a new safe house, where he reunites with Mike and the rest of the team, along with their weapons and gear. Mike briefs them. Mohsen studies highly pathogenic influenza strains, H1N1 and avian flu in humans, funded by a charity linked to extremist groups in Syria and Al-Qaeda. An insider has provided the facility layout, but they'll need a guard's fingerprint to open interior doors. The plan is a rapid raid, a short interrogation, then exfiltration through the woods to meet German partners, and continue straight to an airfield where a plane will be waiting. Dressed in unmarked black kit, they run comms checks with call signs and are dropped near the woods on the outer perimeter. They silently capture a security guard and use his fingerprint to gain access, knowing they have roughly 7 minutes inside. Clearing room by room, they move quickly, securing the building and grabbing Mohsen without a fight. With 6 minutes left, They begin interrogating him. He answers some questions, but refuses to admit any bioterror plot, leaving James unsure whether they're neutralizing a real threat or being used for something darker. One of the team hacks the lab computer and pulls data on the research, while Sierra 1 radios that Berlin police are closing in. The team informs the ranch, and Rusty authorizes Codex, giving them permission to stage an industrial accident. They bag the laptops and biological samples, and Mike orders James to move the professor. Mosen insists he is a scientist whose work will save millions and claims he keeps a full data copy in a safety deposit box, begging James to preserve it because the world will need it. James sedates him with an injection and cuts his restraints, while teammates rig a short-circuit device and pour accelerant on the floor. They flip the power, leave the building, and watch as fire quickly spreads through the lab. At the exfil point, they link up with Sierra 1 just as Berlin police arrive, sparking a firefight. Multiple German officers are shot, Fox 2 goes down, and when Sierra 1 is critically hit, her own teammates finish her off because the mission is black and they cannot risk capture. James throws a grenade to suppress the remaining police. Afterward, only he and Mike are alive, with Mike wounded in the leg. Hunted by officers and dogs, they ditch most of their gear but keep the intel drive, swim a creek, and slip into a submerged tunnel. James drags Mike out the other side, treats his leg, and confesses he feels guilty for firing on cops, but Mike insists they did what was necessary. Mike wants James to leave him and finish the job, but James refuses, and gives him blood from his own arm as an improvised transfusion. When James's bad knee finally gives out, he can't keep moving. He pushes Mike to deliver the drive alone, with a plan to meet later. Mike will pass off the data in Berlin, then wait at Hotel Salvino with fresh supplies. James is given 48 hours to catch up. After they separate, James sets his watch timer and crawls out of the tunnel, camouflages himself with mud, and staggers through the countryside. He briefly hallucinates a hunting trip with his father, then scavenges food and clean clothes from a nearby hunter's parked car. Reaching the hotel, he learns from the receptionist that his friend already checked in and prepaid room 210. James cautiously enters the room, finds gear and supplies laid out, but no Mike. A hidden note taped under the TV remote says the delivery is complete and Mike will return at 10 a.m. the next day. As the 48-hour window expires with no word, James calls the front desk to ask about any message. There is none. Growing anxious, he buys a new burner phone outside and finally contacts Rusty, saying he's been hurt but is stable, unaware that something has already gone very wrong with the handoff in Berlin. Rusty tells James that Mike never made it back to Berlin and says an extraction team is en route to take James from his hotel to an airfield. James wants to know what happened to Mike, but Rusty dodges, insisting he'll explain once James is with the team. Given directions to a bridge and told pickup is in 20 minutes. James heads there, but grows suspicious. If Mike never checked in, how did Rusty arrange extraction? He confronts Rusty over the phone, asking if Mike was killed and who they really work for. Rusty explodes in anger, confirming James's fears that the ranch is dirty. James warns that if he survives, he's coming for Rusty. At the bridge, a BMW pulls up, then two motorcycles roar in and open fire, joined by gunmen disguised as civilians. James dives off the bridge into the water under a hail of bullets, kills one biker, grabs his gun, and flees into a sewer tunnel. Smashing the lights to plunge it into darkness, he ambushes and kills the rest. One wounded attacker, a former U.S. Marine, admits their mission started as extraction, but the ranch later ordered them to terminate both James and Mike after pickup, and they had already grabbed Mike, which is why he never made contact. Sickened, the Marine gives James a safe house location, a pickup code, and the kill code Tomahawk that will make the team stop hunting him for a while. James sends the kill code from the Marine's phone, then staggers off, exhausted. He goes to Salim's home and asks the scientist's wife about the package Salim mentioned. She says it's in a safe deposit box at a Swiss bank. James persuades her and their son Janice to come with him. She retrieves the box, which contains a tablet. Using clues from Salim's notes, James unlocks it, then slips away, calling the pickup number and giving the code. XT morning, an SUV arrives. Still wary, James approaches with his gun raised. The driver calms him, and James gets in, only to be injected and knocked out. He wakes in a safe house, wired to medical equipment. A doctor explains that the ranch trains men like James and the Marine to run deniable errands, kill enemies, and, when ordered, kill each other, all under the false cover of national security. On Salim's tablet, James finds a video message to Janice. Salim says he vowed his children would live without fear, dedicating his life to science even as powerful people tried to twist his work for profit. The tablet holds his life's work, a low-mortality H5N1 vaccine meant to protect humanity, which he now passes to Janice, urging him to continue it and ensure it is made freely available to the public, even if Salim is killed. Over dinner at the safe house, Doc shares old war stories with James. Both are veterans, when a sniper round suddenly smashes through the window and kills Doc instantly. James kills the lights, crawls to confirm Doc is dead, then spots a propane cylinder and hatches a plan. He opens the gas, lights a candle, seals the interior door with clothes, and slips out an upstairs window. As multiple gunmen enter through the front door, the accumulating gas ignites and the entire house explodes, allowing James to escape in Doc's vehicle. He drives across the border into Poland, boards a flight without issue, and makes it back to the United States. Retrieving the motorcycle he hid earlier, James rides to Mike's house to honor his promise to tell Mike's wife what happened, only to see Mike alive, playing with his child. Realizing he has been betrayed by both Rusty and Mike, he withdraws to the woods, checks his weapons, and prepares. The next morning he tails Mike, who drives into a public parking structure. On the rooftop, Mike ambushes James, knocking him off the bike and holding him at gunpoint. James removes his helmet and dares him to shoot. Mike says Rusty told him James was dead. James counters that Rusty sent a kill team after him and that the whole honorable work pitch was a con. Mike admits it was a data heist and that the supposed mission was about a once-in-a-lifetime payday. Salim's vaccine could have prevented a virus Rusty planned to release, allowing the firm to profit from chaos and fear. James learns Rusty paid his family $4 million as blood money, but warns that if Rusty discovers he's alive, he'll go after James's family with everything he has. Feeling utterly betrayed, James disarms Mike, slams him against the car, and declares this can end only one way. They drive together to Rusty's ranch, with Mike at the wheel and James hidden. Security waves them through. As soon as Mike steps out, he greets a few men and suddenly opens fire on them. James leaps from the car in full kit and joins the assault. While James moves around the flank to reach Rusty's main house, Mike trades gunfire in the yard and is hit in the abdomen. Inside, James fights his way through Rusty's guards and eventually corners Rusty, who has already shot Mike again. Wounded and unable to stand, Rusty says he wants to die with his boots on, but James ends it with a bullet to the head. James returns to Mike, who is bleeding out. They speed away from the ranch, but Mike dies on the road. James pulls over, burns the car and Mike's body to erase evidence, then slips back to his hometown. From a distance, he watches his wife and son, making sure they are safe. When the house is briefly empty, he calls his young son Jack, making contact but staying in the shadows, a father now trapped between protecting his family and the violent world that made him.